I'm happy to introduce my friend and student, Bill Truby. Bill and I have known each other since 1996, where we met at the Paralympics in Atlanta as we were watching David play. Bill is also a Class A level tournament player and is a board member of the Colorado Wheelchair Tennis Foundation, where he's volunteered many hundreds of hours. Bill is going to introduce the intermediate, beginner, and coach to some of the nuances of the chair. Take it from here.
Thank you, Rich. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the frame types, the wheels, the mechanics of a sports chair. And as Rich alluded to, we as wheelchair athletes require the highest level of equipment to allow our games to play at the levels that we need to as a competitive player. But as the beginner gets into the sport, myself included, when I was learning how to play the game, didn't really know how to start, where to start, what kind of chair to get. You can't just go online and find this information. So the biggest recommendation I would have for either the coach or the beginning player is talk to your local athletes, wheelchair athletes that are in the cities that you live in. And if you have the opportunity to do this, sit in his or her chair to get an understanding of what it's like to have a dialed-in wheelchair that a current player is actually playing with. That would give you an idea of sizing, seat width, seat depth, how tall the seat is in comparison to where you are with the wheel set. If you're lucky enough to find that type of chair that fits your waist and your leg length. So first thing that we want to talk about today is the different types, and there's such a large variety of chairs because all of us are real individual athletes and we're very restrictive on the type of play that we can play and the type of equipment that goes along with that type of play. So this chair here is made by a company called Top End, and there's about 4 or 5 manufacturers in the United States and throughout the world that's typically used by the majority of athletes. And this has got a titanium frame. It's a very light frame. It's not painted. It doesn't nick when you're moving it around or traveling with the chair. But you could see that it's for the most part, it's welded. There isn't any adjustable areas here. It's also got a sidebar here that's actually welded into the frame, and this keeps the user very well contained within the chair, which is critical. It also gives you added support and stability so the flex of the frame isn't seen. But as you could see here, everything is welded. There are no adjustments in the seat height, in the caster here, as well as the axle for the center of mass. That's all dialed in, and this would typically be for a wheelchair player that knows exactly what he wants. This might be a second, third, or even fourth chair for this particular athlete that would own a chair like this. Another big interesting concept for a wheelchair, a sports chair, is that you see the camber. This is the angulation of the wheels themselves that allow it to spin and maneuver laterally so we can move throughout the court quickly. You see some of the highest levels of maneuverability in the DVD when Rich was feeding balls at David Hall, and the ability for him to move around the court that way is a function of how this geometry of this frame and the wheels are canted out, and that is super critical. This chair here is the same. It's sitting a lot higher. It's got a larger wheel structure. It's a 26-inch wheel versus a 25-inch wheel. It uses titanium hand rims. This is to cut down on the weight of the wheel. It's got an integrated bucket, highly customized for this particular user. And again, this is for the most advanced player that's already started. There's no adjustability in the frame again. It's got 20 degrees of camber, as you can see. The center of mass on this particular frame is moved as far forward, so you're almost in a wheelie, so to speak, and that allows the player to move around the court, again, very quickly and laterally. David's chair here, as we see, is fully customized for David's physique and for his build and for his game. You could see that we're using an anodized push rim, 25-inch, very high competitive wheel set here, and again, it's a fully welded frame. There's no adjustability here. So again, for the beginning user, what we would typically do when they get in it is make sure that the seat width is properly fit for the user's side. The seat height is set up for the user's particular disability. If you're a high-level injury, you're a low-level injury, you're an amputee, above the knee or below the knee, single or double. It makes a lot of sense here too to talk about quadriplegic players. Usually they're a very high-level injury, so there needs to be a lot of stabilization that has to go on within the chair. So strapping is a very critical, important piece of that. We see straps that David has used in his to keep his upper thigh area and his waist completely tied to the chair. It's almost like a ski boot where you do not want to move in your chair. You want to be one with the chair. So any kind of slight movement that you make with the chair, it translates directly to your equipment, and you can move throughout the court very, very quickly, subtly, and at the highest level of performance. Strapping over here is very critical, like we said too before. So for a beginning player, what we have at any sporting goods store is a weightlifting belt. This strap here that you can buy for about 15 bucks is used to keep your thighs intact and also your waist intact. Higher level guys will want to use these integrated straps that tie with tie wraps to the frame, and that also keeps the player completely tied to the chairs we were talking about before. Foot straps are very critical. Again, these are snowboard bindings that we've adapted to chairs, but you can actually buy them from any DME supplier, durable medical equipment supplier, online, and you need to keep your feet completely intact to the chair so it doesn't leave the chair when you're going through a high G turn. Finally, preparation before going to a match is critical, and I'd always like carrying an extra tube, tire changers if you have a blowout during a match or in between matches. This is very critical to have your equipment set up that way. I usually carry a set of Allen keys, so if there's some minor modifications that I have to do while I'm on the road, that's critical too. Also, the seating systems are very critical. We have to make sure that we don't get any kind of skin abrasions since we're on the court for several hours at a time. And here, this user uses a typical 2-inch cushion, but your cushion that you use is very personal, again, and depending upon your injury level, you may even use your everyday cushion in your sports chair. But many times what we do is have a separate cushion for our sports chairs, and we dedicate that to just a sports chair and not use it in our everyday chair. So that, in a nutshell, is frame geometries, frame types, adjustability, the wheel types. So you could probably go to any durable medical equipment supplier in your city, talk to those distributors on the types of wheelchairs that they have, and get more information from them as well. Thank you.